And welcome back to the Main Event Sports Show. This is your host here, Haven Harrington, a.k.a. the Afro Samurai. I'm here with the Green-Eyed Bandit himself.
The Afro Samurai?
Afro Samurai, the 60-second assassin, the mouth of the South, Montrell Jones, the greatest wide receiver ever to come out of the greatness of Ismail High School.
I got to have some kind of assassin name, too. I mean, sure, y'all say y'all ninjas and all of that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, but... guys, during the break, we was talking a little bit about the next topic, and before we talk about the new coach at U of L, because like I said, I think that's more of a long shot. Let's talk about more or less the presence of what's kind of going on, and stand on the U of L subject, the U of L basketball. You know, when you looked at the aspects of what Chris Mack brought to the table, just the other night, just the crowd support of the people just hanging out of bars, people just all over the court. It was kind of electrifying, you know, me being a football player to actually see that. You know, to sit there in Sports and Social Club to watch that, I think it was very, very electrifying. And, you know, the impact that he's made so far, you know, let's call it for what it is. We'll never kind of forget Rick in the back, but nobody's really has mentioned Rick. Everybody's like, you know, has kind of accepted Chris Mack, and it's almost like, you know, now Rick's trying to throw in, you know, a book and, you know, all that. Yeah. What about me? But so I definitely like the impact that Chris Mack has made, and the guys that he recruited seem like the guys that was here, because usually sometimes, you know, as basketball players, just as college players, you can tend to go the other way when a new coach come in. But when you look at what those guys, what he's done, what he's put together with his staff and things of that nature, it seems like it's pretty much back on track. So I'm very, very interested in, I think October 21st is the day that the first scrimmage, and I'm definitely looking forward to October. So, you know, I'm not a football guy, but I'm remembering basketball days. And so,
I can tell you
know, yeah. So I'm very interested in the scene because I got a good friend that works with the program, and he tries to play it off, but I think they're very, very excited. I really think Louisville's going to be one of those surprise teams. I will go out on a limb to say this. I go out on the limb to say if we had Raymond Spalding back, I think we would. But Raymond Spalding and Donovan Mitchell, I think we would be talking about a national championship. And I don't want to just pull your leg on that. If we had those two guys back, and those are big ifs. Those guys are doing an amazing job at the highest level, what they came to do. But when you look at the aspects of basketball, if we had those two guys back, I just really feel like this might be a team that really be competing for a national championship, because I really think Chris Mack has that fire and desire to win basketball games. And not only that, recruit.
Hey, well, I tell you what, Montrell, it's been the first full week of practice since Louisville Live, and everybody was down there. That amazing scene at 4th Street Live with the court,
man.
You know, dunk contest, 3-point knockout contest,
bobbling and sideways contest.
I mean, coming in with the starter jacket on, with the cap. Like Chris Mack, as you said, Rick Pitino is a Hall of Fame coach. Everybody appreciates so many of the things that he's done, even though it ended in a very ugly way. But the energy that Chris Mack is bringing to this program makes me feel as if even if Rick Pitino had not gotten into trouble, maybe it was time for Chris Mack to be
I'm going to tell you what Chris Mack did. Chris Mack single-handedly re-energized a stale Louisville program. I mean, Rick was never on social media. Louisville really didn't have a social media presence. You know, there really wasn't that much interaction between the basketball program and the fans. Outside of coming to the games and spending your money, that's it. That was it. That was all the interaction between the basketball program and the fans. You know, Chris Mack came in there, a younger coach, energetic guy. Switched everything around. Now they got a new Twitter account for men's basketball. Now they have an open practices. We can come watch the team, practice. Now you got Louisville Live.
Which recruits committing back to back weeks.
I mean, he's brought energy. And I'm going to tell you this. I agree 110% with Montrell. If Donovan Mitchell and Spalding came back, this would be a national championship caliber team, because whereas Rick I thought, did not really know how to use Donovan Mitchell. He would have been set free in Chris Mack's offense.
I think that Chris Mack, both from a schematic standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, is a guy who is akin to Brad Stevens, who, of course, is now with the Boston Celtics. I think that he's that level of coach. I think that he's that level of teacher. And when you look at the fact that he was able to take your run-of-the-mill kind of mid-level 3-star kids, couple of 4-star players, and turn that program into a powerhouse. Got a number 1 seed this past year with Xavier. Went to an Elite 8 the year prior with Xavier. This is a young man that I think his best coaching is ahead of him. And now that he's shown the ability to recruit in this climate where you have sanctions, the FBI is still there. There's there's a lot of unrest. People don't really know what's going to happen. And he still has the number 2 recruiting class in the country, even with all this stuff hanging over Louisville's head. And I know that it's not going to stay there, right? Because I think as Duke and Kentucky and some of these big powerhouses start to get some commitments, maybe Louisville slides down a little bit. But Louisville has a legitimate shot at a top 5 class. And Aiden Igiehon, who, of course, came in for Louisville Live, was sitting there with commitments, Josh Nickelberry, Jalen Withers, and others. David Johnson as well from Trinity.
How good is that kid?
Which one? Aiden?
Yeah. I know David Johnson's pretty good.
Yeah, David's nice.
I think he's nice. I'm talking about the
Aiden Igiehon is a taller Montrezl Harrell.
Really?
So you give Montrezl Harrell 2 inches, and that's who you got. And probably a more polished offensive game than Montrell had when he first came to Louisville.
Wow, really?
And that's Aiden Igiehon. So, you're talking about a guy who's a relentless rebounder, a tenacious defensive player, a great shot blocker. He can already knock down the mid-range jump shot, which is something Montrez did not have when he got here. This is a young man that, to me, he made a bit of a slide. He was considered a 5-star player. He slid a little bit back from around 22, 23, back to around 30 to 35. I don't really know the reason why, because he had a strong summer. But this is a young man that has the talent to be able to be that anchor, because what Chris Mack wants to do is have one guy in the middle and surround him with shooters. And when you look at the size that Louisville has, David Johnson, 6'5" point guard. Josh Nickelberry, 6'4", 2 guard. You have Jalen Withers, 6'8", stretch power forward. And then Samuel Williamson, 6'6", wing forward. You have that kind of size to put around that monster in the middle. And then you bring back, guys like Jordan Nwora. Possibility of a VJ King. Possibility of a Darius Perry next year. You're looking at a team next year with Ryan McMahon coming back as well. Possibly bringing back Stephen Enoch as well. This Louisville team is going to be absolutely loaded next year. It is a very exciting time.
It is. It definitely is. And I've been hearing a lot about, and you mentioned him, Raashaan, I've been hearing a lot about VJ King. I heard he's up to about 225 pounds now. I like to get my inside news. This is a guy that always was around 200 pounds, 195. So, to see the explosiveness that I would love to see from him, and to actually see that. And then not only that, I'm a big guy. I'm a big believer on the role player. So the experienced role players are guys like Dwayne Sutton that does the dirty work and stuff, and rebound and stuff. I wonder, because I think those are the guys when the tough gets going that we're going to really need to be able to count on. We're going to definitely be guys like Dwayne Sutton. When you start talking about the center, all of those guys, basically, and then a couple of those freshmen, the incoming freshmen, we're gonna need a couple of those guys to step up to go deep in the tournament play. And from what I heard about Chris Mack, he does a great job of maximizing players. I'm gonna give you guys a prime example. If you've been kind of following Chris Mack and some of the things he's done, you take a guy, Remy Abel, that was from Eastern High School, went to IU, transferred to Xavier. IU, he was a pretty good player, played, but he went to Xavier, and look what Chris Mack did to him. Chris Mack turned him into to the opportunity where he's still able to play now, which is across season and make money doing it. So he does a great job of maximizing players, and I think Quentin Gooden, another one, Kentucky, and he's across season. So I really think that he does a great job of maximizing what he has, and I think that's going. I think it's gonna come. It's gonna come prevalent in this basketball season.
Well, to me, I think the biggest thing Chris Mack brings will be an exciting style of basketball. Mm-hmm. You're going to see more offensive basketball than we've ever seen Rick Pitino before February, and probably after February, to be honest with you. We keep it all the way 100, and I think that's what's helping him recruit now. Because one of the things kind of slow Rick down, Rick will get guys and then make you fit his system. Whereas Mack's going to get guys, he's going to let you be you. He's going to let you do what you do best. He's going to maximize your offensive abilities. Let you score, let you take guys off the dribble, let you go ahead and pop the three, move you around, let you move. Things that Rick will never let you do, he's going to let you do. And like my man Nick Shoemate says, I honestly believe they're probably going to call him he call him the people's coach because he has so much swag. So Nick Shoemate, you know what? That nickname's with you, baby. We'll call him the people's coach. Yeah. And I think, like I said before, I thought and I still think Chris Mack, when it's all said and done, when his career's over here at U of L, I think he will be a better coach than Rick. And that's saying a lot, but I think he will. I think this team, as it's constituted right now, they still healthy, will be a second weekend team in the tournament.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think when you start talking about him and Rick, I think it's two different things. I think overall, I think he's an overall better person than Rick. You see, when you talk about communicating, more
down to earth.
Yeah, he's more down to earth. And when you start talking about communicating with fans, and when you see them coming around, slapping fans on high, I can honestly say I watched Rick for a long time. I've never seen Rick interact just in the aspects of just basically slapping hands and doing the thing with the fans and thing. And I think fan interaction is big around here. I tell people all the time, guys. We don't have a professional team. So, when you go right up north and you got the Pacers, you have the Colts and stuff, you have other things to support. And I tell people around here, it's U of L and U of K. So, if it's one of those things that you're talking about U of L, the local school, it's almost like that's how we have.
What's the difference? You talk about Rick Pitino being at Vincenzo's, surrounded by his big, his friends and bodyguards. And Chris Mack is like tweeting out from like Hooters.
Yeah.
Give me some wings. You know what I'm saying? Just give me a couple beverages, kicking it with some of these, fans. Like, it's just a different feel. Rick was very old school with it, very classic Italian coach. And, Chris Mack is just like a down-home boy.
But to me, but that's kind of emblematic of the entire Louisville program now with Vince Tyree. With Tom and Ramsey and Rick and those guys, they were kind of aloof. They were kind of like the Louisville Mafia, with Neely Bendapudi coming in now as the president. And she's in the student section taking selfies. Vince Tyree's out and about, hanging out, with kids, with the guys in the student section, talking to folks. This is just a different, this is a different feel for U of L. Uh-huh. This is more of an opening. This is more of an open U of L. Since we're live on Facebook, I want to give a big ups to Drew Brees.
Hello.
The 5'10"-ish, 9-ish quarterback just passed Peyton Manning with most yards in NFL history. That record should have belonged to Warren Moon, but they didn't want a black quarterback when Warren Moon came out of Washington. Warren Moon is still, in my book, throws the best pass in NFL history. I just want to put that out there.
No, I don't.
Who throws a better pass to Warren Moon?
Who threw a better pass?
A better looking pass, Warren Moon.
I thought you meant I thought you said the best pass ever.
No, the best looking pass, like that perfect spiral. Every time I left his hand, it was
it was. He just always moved like he was old, though.
Because we got the NFL, he was old. He spent like 7 years in Canada because they don't want a black quarterback in the NFL. But that's why he spent 7 years in Canada. But Warren Moon, if he would have came right out of Washington to the NFL, would have held almost every NFL record.
Yeah.
He holds a lot of them. He just plays like he came to Houston Oilers with that running shoe. and they were smashing. But you know what? We're talking about Chris Mack. I had to digress a little bit because my man, Peyton Manning, my man Drew Brees did this thing. Big ups to Drew Brees, holding it down for short people everywhere. So all people think the quarterbacks have to be 6'4" like Josh Allen, who's a bum, to be a good quarterback. Look at my man Drew Brees. Man's like 5'9", 5'10",
and you know what?
Doing it big.
I'm gonna give you a quick story on me and Drew Brees. I was actually a sophomore at Mayo, and Danny Hope was the offensive coordinator and recruiter up there at Purdue at the time that Drew Brees was up there. And I never forget the first time that I actually seen him. It was just like, oh, he just looks like a little country white guy. How's he playing quarterback? I mean, he had a little shaggy haircut in college, you see, and I looked at him and I was just like, oh, and they just kept on telling him, they kept on saying, oh, well, he throws and throws. That's back when Purdue was throwing the ball like UK. They was actually throwing the ball a whole bunch, and they was just like, we got a quarterback named Drew Brees, and he's going to throw the ball, and you should just check him out, and this, that, and the other. And I got to check him out some at Purdue, and he looked real good. He looked real good. Kind of, I look at Drew Brees almost like, as you say, 1.0 and 2.0 as a 2.0 of a Doug Flutie type of quarterback that that can endure. He's been hurt. He's been hurt and stuff, but he's played the game a long time, so it's much deserving. So you're right. But big shout out to Drew Brees, even though Peyton Manning is my guy. I'm always going. I don't say that, but. I know it. But hey, at the end of the day, stats never lie. So, shout out and congratulations to Drew Brees, man.
There you go, Peyton Manning. Good Lord, got a statue in the pocket.
You said Warren Moon.
Hey, Warren Moon, my man, Warren Moon. Hey, but you know what? I'm gonna go back to Chris Mack. I'm telling you, listen to me. Chris Mack's gonna be the real deal. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to start having serious discussions on who may be the greatest coach in Louisville basketball history. Crum or Mack?
Hey, I'm going to tell you what. The biggest thing I like about Mack has been the innovation and the way he utilized. Like, nobody ever thought about putting a basketball court at 4th Street Live and doing that, bringing the basketball to the city. Nobody really thought about, having the players anonymously bring fans out to to watch recruits play basketball and then having people tweet from that. Nobody
thought about bringing Michael Buffer to your practice. Calipari. Thought about having Drake.
It's amazing what innovations he's brought to the game. And I think it's exactly what Louisville needed. And just today, they unveiled a new award where they're going to give a player the gold jersey of the week. And the first winner of the gold jersey was a former Lexington native, Christian Cunningham, transfer in from Samford University, all-time leading assist man there. He won the very first gold jersey of the week for the top performer in practice for that week. So he even has guys competing with that.
And I go out on a limb, guys, and I say this live. From watching this kid from Furman to watching this kid from high school.
Yes.
Christian Cunningham will be U of L's MVP this year.
Wow.
He will be U of L's MVP. Now, and I'm saying it, and I'm saying it on there, I'm saying it live from his leadership and everything. As you can tell, he came in as a transfer and he's a captain. So I'm not going to even go into the leadership role and his character. So, but as far as a basketball player, guys, you'll see somebody that's like Chauncey Billups, and I think in his prime. And when you guys see that this year, you guys will see why we can be like a surprise team. And I'm saying this now, and I know I got a little bit of an inside. I always keep an inside.
Absolutely.
But I think Christian,
you the main event insider. That's what you're supposed to do.
I think Christian Cunningham, like I told you, I think Christian Cunningham, he will be in the top. Not only MVP for U of L, he'll be in the top as probably one of the top guards in the ACC.
Hey, and
I really say that.
That's exciting because you think about that. You can bring about what Christian Cunningham has. Everybody knows how much talent Darius Perry, who's probably going to start at the 2 spot, has, and then you're going to have that VJ King and Jordan Wara duo at the forwards, and then of course probably bringing in Malik Williams and Steven Enoch down in the middle. Then you're going to have those guys like we talked about, Sutton coming off the bench. You're going to have Quan Ford, the transfer from Richmond. You're going to have
Quan Ford may start.
I heard a lot about
these transfers. You're talking about 3 impact transfers, and then of course Okoye Gal, who used to be at Louisville previously.
One, from what I heard, one of the transfer may only be around 1 year here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Stephen Enoch is the kid, the transfer from Connecticut. From everything that I understand, as the Redskins fans is getting hyped in the building, I tell you what, I've heard people say that Stephen Enoch may be good enough to go pro after this year.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit because I saw Norton Hazard here on Facebook Live asking, we saw Kentucky's pro day.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Wildcats?
Hey, I tell you what, I'm kind of underwhelmed with Reed Travis. Just from watching him overseas in the Bahamas, I thought I was going to see more from him. But a transfer coming West Coast to East Coast from Stanford to Kentucky, it's a different type of basketball. It's a lot more physical. He's a very talented player, former McDonald's All-American, but it's going to take him some time. Now, E.J. Montgomery, I think, is outstanding. I really like Tyler Herro. I think he's going to be a very good player, but it's going to be about the guys returning. You know, the players coming back, the Quade Greens, the P.J. Washingtons, the Richards, Nick Richards down low, those are going to be the guys that Kentucky has to lean on. Like Tyler Herro had a great Bahamas. Do not get me wrong, people. He balled. He scored. But let me tell you something. The brother couldn't guard a chair on the court. His defense is terrible. So he's going to have to get a lot better with that because I think once you get into the SEC, which is going to be very good, now that you have Tom Crean there, Tennessee is a top 10 team. Alabama is continuing to rise with Avery Johnson down there. We already know what Bruce Pearl's done at Auburn. There's going to be a lot of good teams. Texas A&M is going to be good again. Florida continues to get commitments. Mike White is balling. Like, Kentucky's going to have a very good team. They're going to have a very balanced team. But my question with them, E.J. Montgomery's a nice player. But I don't know how many elite talented guys. I don't know where the De'Aaron Fox and the Malik Monk is on this team. And that's going to be my question. Like, Montgomery seems to be a guy that everybody's trying to tout as the next guy up. The next guy up. But even at that, I think he is a low lottery pick, 12, 13, 14. But Kentucky doesn't have a guy that's a guaranteed lock top 5 type of player, and that's my question.
I'm going to say this. Just give Calipari the tournament time. He always finds that dude. Cal has always found that
dude. He didn't find it against Kansas State last year.
Cal always finds that
dude. So I mean, that's all.
He has that guy.
Just from what I'm seeing, you would hope it's P.J. Washington with him coming back that he's going to take that next step. Or Quade Green. I like the team. Emmanuel Quickley is a very nice young player, but I just don't see that top 5, top 10 talent. And when you look at Duke, and you see R.J. Barrett, and you see Zion Williamson.
Mike McClain. There she is right there.
Hey. When you see Zion Williamson and you see R.J. Barrett and you see Cam Reddish, those 3 guys, Duke may have the top 3 players in the class. Okay, and when you can talk about having the 3 best players in college basketball all on one team, that's a different level.
Listen, not college basketball player. Zion Williamson, he may be one of the top basketball players in the world. Like right now. Literally right now.
6'8", 285 pounds, freight train.
Listen, he came in at 244. I heard the story.
He's a monster.
They said they stuck him in the weight room, and they said they stuck him on a meal plan thing, and they said over the summer it almost looked like he was on some PEDs. And it did. From high school to the chubbiness from high school to what he looks at now, he looks very dominant.
Yes.
He's a defensive tackle out there running down the field.
Hey, I'm going to just let everybody know, for nobody who's seen him yet, imagine Julius Randle from a couple years ago of Kentucky, just an athletic freak of nature at about 6'8", 6'9", but then give him handles and already a bit of a jump shot, a guy with point guard skills, and can windmill dunk from the free throw line. Zion Williamson is a cheat code. Dude is like a freak of nature. Like, that's the thing. Like, Duke is really young, but That team is scary.
And then the other guard.
R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, both of those guys.
They said R.J. Barrett. They said R.J. Barrett. They can go 1 and 2.
6'9" 2 guard.
They said they're 1 and they can go 1 and 2.
I mean, you're talking about basically having Kobe Bryant, Dominique Wilkins, and Grant Hill all on the same team. Look, Kentucky fans, I'm not hating.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that you got nice players. Tyler Herro's a nice player, but we're going to see Champions Classic. Chicago, get your tickets now. They've already sold out. They sold out this morning. If you didn't get in there by 10 a.m., you're not going to get them. But Duke and Kentucky, Champions Classic, November 12th. Yes, sir, ESPN.
Chicago. I hear press passes.
You cold. You cold. What did you say? What kind of ninja you said you was?
The Afro Samurai, baby.
Oh, okay. The Afro Samurai.
I'm down for a trip to Chicago to watch that. I'm telling you.
I was just going to go over to the south side and gather up, see if I can get 4 or 5 of them and just tell them, just get me on in here.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Maven Sports Show. If you guys have any questions, you want to comment anything we said, man, just go ahead, leave a comment below, hit like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to maineventsports101.com, download the app, sign up for the newsletter, listen to the podcast. It's all there, baby. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Peace.